In this episode, I chat with Dewi Winkle and John Cunningham-Rolls. We talk about a very fucking cool swim, the Scilly Swim Challenge. So without further ado, here's the podcast. Welcome to this very special episode of Fucking Cool Swims. We're going to talk about one of the swims which I think is the fucking coolest, the Scilly Swim Challenge. So welcome, Dewi and John. Could you just start by maybe just introducing yourselves very quickly, and then let's talk about the Scilly Swim.
Yeah, so I am Dewi Winkle. I am the co-founder, along with Nick and Brian Lishman, of the Scilly Swim Challenge, which has now been running, I think we're in our 13th year next year, if that's right.
Fantastic.
Hello, I'm John Cunningham-Rolls, and I'm the co-founder of SwimQuest, and we organise swimming holidays worldwide. And we acquired the Scilly Swim Challenge back, I think, in 2021, 2022, around that time. And we've been working with Dewi and Nick and Brian, the team, ever since.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, it's testament to the fact that Dewi and Nick and Brian are still there, that I think you've obviously got something which is really successful. I know, because I've just signed up for Scilly Swim number 6 for me, and looking forward to it. I mean, it's just part of my calendar now. But Dewi, I'm kind of intrigued to learn about the history of it. How did it get started?
Well, I suppose like all these great things, I think you suddenly, as a swimmer, come across something special. I, like so many of the swimmers, had never been to the Isles of Scilly until I think about 2011, when I was down there swim guiding. And I just sat down with Nick and Brian Lishman, I think over a coffee or maybe over a beer even, and sort of said, look, why has anyone swum between the islands in one go? And that's literally how it started. They said, well, a few people swim, and it wasn't really a swimming destination. I'd say that, apart from the odd, holiday that people had there. So we tested it out. I did a few of the swims, and Nick and Brian did a few. And that's when we thought, let's give it a go. Let's have a test event, which we ran for 75 people with, I would say, minimal safety. And over the years, that's obviously improved and got a lot bigger, and it's a machine all by itself now. But yeah, just amazing then to run that first event all those years ago, starting with 75 people, and then year on year, going from the one-day event, and then realizing that a 2-day event was possible. And then since SwimQuest came on board, obviously introducing the 360, giving that a go. So yeah, and I think more than anything, we wanted to have an event that was inclusive. And by that, I mean, if anyone got in touch and wanted a bit of help to get there, or they worried about their swimming, or they were non-wetsuit or wetsuit, we just wanted to have an open playing field whereby swimmers could come together and enjoy what we do best, which is to get into the water in beautiful environments. And that's what we did. And it's obviously just kept going. I'm really proud of the fact that I'm one of the 3 that sort of started it off, and we're all involved, as you say. And I think over the years, the thousands of people who've been down there are the best testimony, really, to the fact that it's kept going. And we've never not had a year. So despite all the COVID years, we were fortunate, and you need a bit of fortune, to keep running throughout all the years. So we've run every single year. And people like yourself, the repeat offenders, they keep coming back because they just, as you said, it's such a beautiful place if you've not been. And the swims are challenging. The day is challenging. And as an organizing committee and a group of 100 and, well over 60 helpers, and often sort of 200 plus people on the water, it's a big moving feast through the day. But it works. We always swim. And that's one of the strap lines that we've actually had, John and I, with all the swim challenges we've done. We've always swum. We never promised to do the exact swim, but we've always swum, which is a great thing.
No, well, look, I mean, I think because my first experience of the swim is you actually ran a sundowner. So you also did the around St Mary's swim, and you did a sundowner, and it was a 4K swim. I'd never even attempted to swim 4K. So my friend Giles said, "Well, why don't we go and do that?" And we arrived on Scilly, and I was like, "My God, where has this place been all my life?" I mean, I would describe it as close to heaven on earth as you could kind of get. And yeah, so I made a bit of an error actually on the on my timing. So I started off as a red hat, and that was hilarious because I sort of got in the water for the first swim, and before I'd sort of done 3 strokes, everybody else had disappeared off. But I was soon subsumed into the oranges and then the greens. But by the end of it, I was like, okay, I'd swum 4K, but it was just, the stunning. And, it sort of set me on the path of, okay, I'm going to kind of keep doing this. Because I think part of it is swimming, but part of it is just the magical place that is the Scilly.
Yeah.
So, John, how did SwimQuest get involved with the Scilly Swim?
Dewi and I have known each other for a long time, and we met at another place many years ago. So what was so wonderful is that I'd already previously been on Scilly, the Isles of Scilly, sorry, back in the early 2000s. So I'd known Nick and Brian, Dewi, and then they very kindly came back to me and my business partner Alice, and we then just said, "Look, we'd like to hand the event over. Would you like to, would you like to take it on?" And so, obviously, for us, it was it was a wonderful opportunity, and B, for me, it was just a wonderful moment of coming full circle because I hadn't been back on the Isles of Scilly for many years, and so deeply fortunate. And I think that having seen the event, it's, as always, there's the great element of nothing ventured, nothing gained. So we were doing our negotiations in COVID, obviously when the world had fallen off a very large cliff. So we weren't sure whether or not we were able to just confine ourselves to swimming in our own baths rather than anything else. So it was a real, the fact that we were all given, slightly demob happy, and we were all given the opportunity to get out and about. It was wonderful. So I think number one, for me, it's a great sort of cycle coming back to the Isles of Scilly. And secondly, working with Dewi, Nick and Bry, and then getting to know the team. Alice and I are very clear on that there is the individuals involved are A, committed, and B, extraordinary folk. So it's a really good moment to see that. And then the idea of reflecting that to the swimmers, and the fact that it's a challenge, it's not a competition, and we're open to all. So carrying on what Dewi, Nick and Bride set up as an ethos of the swim is wonderful. So we get, lots of people coming along who are unsure, is this for me? And it's a real battle to get that across, to say you are more than welcome. It is always, always good to practice and train beforehand. That goes without saying. And I'm sure you would testify, Dave, on that. But it makes a difference. So again, many years on now, 4 years on, since taking on the event, it's great, and seeing the sort of development of the event is fantastic. And so Alice and I are delighted. That's Alice Todd, and both of us are amazed at the event. And I'm so glad. Apropos Dewi's expression, there's so many repeat offenders that come back, and we could say we throw all kinds of things at you, and you still insist on coming back.
Well, I mean, last year we had the jellyfish. I thought actually what happened around jellyfish was excellent. So I avoided getting stung, and it didn't put me off. It was really interesting to see that this year there was a bunch of people who were there last year who were just like, well, that was that fact of nature, and we're going to keep coming. So I'm kind of keen to talk about the sort of setup as well, because the swim itself, as you say, is it's a very broad church. So you've got different pods of different capabilities. I mean, an incredible amount of kayakers and safety boats as well. So I don't know what the proportion of sort of safety boats and kayakers is to the swimmers, but you're then dealing with people in pods quite individually. So I wonder if you could just talk about the sort of setup a bit in terms of how things work, and the sort of things that you're thinking about. Because I guess, Dowie, one of the things that's obvious is you're really looking at the weather and the tides as well. So making sure that, people can swim optimally on
Yeah.
the days of the swims as well.
Yeah, I think very much so. I mean, I think we take and have taken advice from local people. By that, I mean harbour master, local ferry boat drivers, locals who just know the weather, whether they be RNLI or Coast Guard. And then I personally have 6 apps, of which I choose the best sort of medium of the lot. And we have a lot of meetings, probably 2 or 3 a day, to just confirm what the plan is for the next day. And we always have contingencies. But as you say, we have at least 36 kayakers, 9 safety boats, a baggage boat, a passenger boat, a medical boat. So that in itself, is a big beast to move around to make sure all the logistics are in place. But we've been conscious from the start that we wanted to make sure that people felt safe, albeit we weren't impinging on their own swim. Because I think that's the thing, is making sure that people feel like it's a challenge. Just the distances themselves on some of the swims will feel like a challenge. And we don't want to make it any harder by sort of creating greater anxiety and stress. So what we try and do is create this, what we call an inner cordon, which is the kayakers that are the first people that the swimmers would have any sort of dealings with in terms of any problems they've got or any concerns they've got. And then if we need to, we've then got the safety boats on the sort of next outer cordon. So we're in a position, if we need to help someone get them on the boat, move them forward, we can do so. And as John's mentioned, because we're not a race, we are able to move people who have had a problem. It might be anything from goggles to dropping back or concerns that they have in the water. We can pick them up out of the water, move them forward to the front of their pod and drop them back in. And there's no black mark or big cross against their name. It's just the fact we want to give everyone the best chance of enjoying the swim. So I think that whole safety aspect has developed over many years. I have a safety team, as I say, that's over 60 strong, both at sea and the land staff. And we've got a good formula now, I'd say. And I'm not suggesting that we've got everything right every year, but we certainly feel very confident in the people around us. And I think that trust that we have in each other and the knowledge of each other's ability allows us to, sail close to the wind sometimes, which is great, because it allows us to probably do more swimming than a lot of events would do.
And I think what's lovely for when you're kind of there on the challenge, because I think, if you've not done it before, or even this year, like I stood on the beach and felt quite nervous, like there's always nerves and about kind of launching yourself off into the sea, because this is the sea, isn't it? I mean, you can always see where you're going, but this is the sea. But to
Absolutely.
have that support is just like phenomenal, and the encouragement as well. So, and then what's really interesting is the sort of pods as well. So you kind of grade people based on how fast they can swim, and what you see is the pods then develop their own community. So this year they tried to promote me, and I was having none of it because I was like, no, I, I'm sticking I'm sticking with Emmy because I love the Greens so much, and you get to know the people around you, and then what you discover is that you sort of swim with people of the same abilities, the same kind of approach to swimming as you. So sort of very quickly you find your kind of clan within the pod as well. So, and that kind of then just leads to having an amazing weekend, because you then get to know some of these people very, very well. I mean, and this year I don't think I've laughed so much as for a long time, just because of the people that we met in our clan, as I say. So when you were sort of thinking about the kind of the pods themselves, what was the spark for that? Was it just like, actually we just need to make sure that we get people swimming in a way that's very comfortable with them? Or
Yeah, I think absolutely right. And I think we also make sure that everything we've got is manageable in terms of the size of the pods as well. And as you'll know from your own experience, some of them, the two pods that are bigger are generally the middle, and the latter ones, so the amber and green pods, can be up to sort of 70 strong. So it's not a little group. But we can contain that, manage it, and make sure people still have the space to enjoy their swim. And over the years, as you say, people have found their friends, they keep coming back. And it's not dissimilar to the Swim Quest holidays, whereby people arrive as individuals and leave as friends. And it's a lovely thing, because people meet up outside of the swim as the years go on, and shared experience obviously matters a lot. So we're really conscious that that's a big part of what we do. And I think, unlike a lot of other events, because it's over 2 or 3 days, irrespective of which event you're doing, you've got to be there for at least 2 days to make sure you're there for the acclimatization swim. It means that people have more time with each other, so it becomes more intimate as an event. There's more time for the safety team to get to know the swimmers. The kayakers form a bond with the swimmers. So I think that is very much part of the event, is the fact that it isn't just a one-off swim. You come and swim and go. You arrive, on the ferry, on the plane, on the helicopter, whatever it be. You meet up with people. There's a whole sort of cult at the campsite of sort of wandering down together from the campsite, those that stay there. So that's very much part of the event, and hence we've built on the parties as well, because we wanted to celebrate the swims. So that's created another aspect to the weekend as well.
yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous. You do have a lot of fun, and I mean, John, would you kind of just like to explain the setup as well? So when we talk about swimming between the islands, can you just explain a bit about what that means?
Yes,
And then also,
yeah.
if you the
No problem, no
360s.
problem. I think what we have is essentially the circumnavigation of the main islands of the Isles of Scilly, and often we looked to go clockwise. So we will start off always from St Mary's, and normally make our way over to St Agnes, and then Sampson, and Briar, and then if it's the 2-day, we then go back, and then on the following day carry on from Briar to Tresco, and then across to St Martin's and back to Bar Point on St Mary's, and then that's done exactly the same way for the 1 day. But the idea again is that you've got a series of swim legs. So you might have some of them. The longer swim is probably about 4K, St Agnes to Sampson, and then on to Briar. And then we've got smaller swims that are 3K, and then 800 meters, again, Briar, between Briar and Tresco. So you've got these shorter swims as well that create the circumnavigation. And then you obviously walk from where you land to the other side, or to the next bay, or wherever the next swim starts. And so, and everything is worked on the tides. So the timings are quite strict. And I think if we go back to what Dewi was saying on the planning, if you turned around and said, I tell you what, we've come up with a cracking idea of doing a circumnavigation in an area with a tidal range of about 28 feet. What do you think? I mean, it's just... You couldn't script it, could you? In one respect, because you get out there, and quite frankly, if you don't, if you forget to tie your shoelaces up and you look up, the tide's gone out. I mean, it's just, and then you're going, all right, okay, well, everyone, there normally is sea here. We're going to have to wait a bit. So all it is, it's the adventure has that extra twist to it. And it does mean what Dewi's saying, that the adventure or the challenge is that, we will scoop people up at the back, knowing full well that they need to make the next leg, the next swim time. So it's time and tide, wait for no man principle. But it means that that we have a best case scenario of how we would like to do the swims, and then we, as I was saying earlier, we then deal with the weather, and we have plans A often to Z as to how we cope with all the variations. So in a way,
I mean,
summary, that's really what we're looking at: circumnavigation and these amazing walks between the islands.
I mean, I hadn't really thought, but if we were swimming the channel, then you're one or two people who are kind of swimming, so you're dealing with lots and lots of people with different capabilities. And one of the things that I've always really loved is how, like, there's never been a moment where I sort of feel like I'm swimming against the tide, really. Like this year we swam between St Mary's and St Martin's, I think.
Yes, that's right.
And oh my God, it was like the most incredible swim, because it was, you sort of started by kind of going a bit against the current for maybe 100 yards or 100 meters, and then sort of switched round. And then it was like, oh, some of the best swimming of my life, to be honest with you, because you sort of got the benefit of the current behind you. But I mean, it must be because of just the sheer number of people, quite a challenge to really sort of understand all of this, Dowie. So is that, I mean, I know you talked about it, but is that something that you're sort of thinking about for weeks beforehand and planning around? Or
I mean, what I would say is, I say to all my safety team, please don't start sending me screenshots of weather when you're 2 or 3 weeks out, because it changes within 48 hours. But as you've said, we're really conscious of, one, how the weather changes, but also we are aware, obviously, of the tides. We tend to do it on a neat tide, so there's less current around. But we've rarely done the same swim, so you'll know from your experience that often we can't do the exact swims we want to do, the clockwise or the half moon, as we call it, on the 2-day. So what we find is some of the beautiful swims that actually we hadn't planned from the start, but as the time gets closer, we think, oh, well, actually, this is one that would be a really good swim for people. So you mentioned, swimming between St Martin and St Mary's. It's slightly different this year in terms of which end we finished on St Martin's. You also swam up the Tresco Channel, up towards Cromwell's Castle, around Hangman's Island, all iconic places and beautiful places to swim, and clear water, as we've mentioned, which is lovely. So we're constantly looking at finding other swims. So even though you go with the intent of having the clockwise swim around all the islands, it might work out. Probably, I think over the years, we've probably done that, I think 16 or 17 times out of the 27 or whatever we're up to now. But we always find great swims. And that's the feedback we've had from the swimmers, which is why they keep coming back. Because even if we can't do the swim, we find them a good swim.
yeah, I mean, I think that's, I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever done necessarily the sort of exact same swim. So that's, as you say, that's exactly part of it. Because you can't, I don't think, underestimate just how incredible the Isles of Scilly are. And one of the things which I find is it's just the best way to kind of experience it is to swim between the islands, then walk across the islands, and then swim from somewhere else. Because, it's, I think it must be one of the most pristine places in the UK. Like, you very rarely see plastic pollution, and I sort of scratch my head around that, because it's sort of stuck out in the middle of the Atlantic, but I think the rubbish must kind of go round it and sort of onto the beaches of Bude. But it is literally pristine. And then sometimes you have a bit of a following with a seal or two as they sort of pop their heads out the water, and The water is crystal clear. And I mean, I should add the other thing, which is for people listening to this who are, maybe nervous of swimming in the sea, there isn't a point where you don't see the bottom, I don't think. Maybe between St Mary's and St Agnes, but it's always shallow. And as you say, John, the tide goes sort of in and out. And this year we had a spring tide, so you could actually walk between two of the islands because the tide had gone so far out. But you can always pretty much see the bottom, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a very good point, and also the idea as well is that given its location, as you say, right out in the Atlantic, the islands themselves are exposed in every respect, but you're just going to be working with the weather. And it's hardly surprising that there are certain times when, as you say, where the weather picks up and we have to pivot, change the order of play, change the swims, and that happens, and that's just life. And it's in fact, it's a bit of a metaphor because often the alternatives that we have to come up with, as Dewi was explaining, at quite late on in the day, the alternative swims turn out invariably, to be absolutely amazing. So you're not. Someone comes back and says, "Oh, that was an epic swim. Thanks so much." Whatever. Well, we wouldn't have planned it if the weather had been, on Plan B or Plan A. So often it's really good that you get this, and we find that this is replicated with our collective experience on our tours. We've got worldwide locations, and we have exactly the same considerations, and the alternatives are often really good. And you think, oh, goodness me, will it be okay? Whatever. And they come, oh, that was wonderful. And you think, oh, thank God, thank heaven for that. But it happens. And so you can bottle that idea, and it's taken to the Scilly Swim Challenge. And that's it. It's just nature at its finest, quite frankly. And the islands themselves being so temperate, the flora and fauna, and when you go to Tresco and you see other islands as well, they just have succulents. They have amazing temperate climate and very rarely get frosts in the winter. So it's the most beautiful. The islands collectively are absolutely beautiful.
And you also have some great food on some of the islands as well. So always time for a cheeky crab roll.
It's always a great motivator, isn't it, to think that right in front of you, hanging just there is a very large bacon sandwich or a.
Well, that's right, and actually we should talk about that because as part of what you do provide sort of lunch for people if they want it. So some people bring their own stuff as well, but it's sort of like that total package of making sure that people are fed and watered as well, because there is a lot of you have to carry stuff around for yourself. So once you're sort of out on the day, you're kind of looking after yourself. But my what I've learned over the years is eating is absolutely essential, because you are doing distances and you might swim 2 or 3K and then have a rest, walk across an island, and then you've got another 2 or 3K. But actually getting food inside you is the best thing that you can kind of do, and staying hydrated as well, because it just means you enjoy the swims that much more. So again, I guess from a sort of organizational point of view, that's the sort of stuff you're kind of thinking about as well, is how do we kind of make sure people enjoy this as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's probably worth mentioning at this point that Alice Todd has, with the help of Katia and a few other people, put together a really good manual for the Scilly Swim Challenge for all the swimmers, yes, which covers all the kit, all the feeding, what to carry, what not to carry, how to carry it, where to go, where places are good to get food if they're by themselves, where they could stay. So we really try and help the swimmers out as much as we can. And I think obviously the priority would always remain as being the swims, but we're conscious as swimmers ourselves, the importance of trying to make it as easy as possible for people, knowing that they've got to travel to get to the Isles of Scilly, where to stay, where to eat, where to visit, and how best to do that.
Yeah, I know. I think it's sort of like if you're coming to the swim as well, you talked about training, John. I mean, this year I'd actually trained more than I had in previous years, and I really, I really benefited from it. Like I just found the swimming magical in a way that that I guess previous years I've really enjoyed it, but this year something just clicked for me, and I think having done not huge amounts of training but enough training, it just meant that I wasn't sort of worried about any of the swims at all.
Absolutely, and I think it's in a way it's that correlation to, as you say, having found it a really a great experience, and you say, well, what's the separation between that and your previous years of attending the Scilly Swim Challenge, Dave? So I do agree, and it's something that that Dewi and all the team and my colleague Alice as well, we sort of recommend is that you do train, and it goes with any event. The more you train, the better it'll be on the day, and you need to work on your stroke. We often suggest that you are swimming front crawl, freestyle, rather than breaststroke, simply because the breaststroke often in the water can be choppy, and unless you're very good and you can glide, you can get through the waves, it can be difficult being slapped. But whereas with freestyle, you can breathe either to your left or right shoulder, and it's just a better way of getting around. And you equally, with that training, you can look at technique. And Dewi's right. Alice has put a lot of work along with Katya into the information pack, and it just, in a way, it's the principle probably of meeting us halfway, of saying if you put the yards in and you do the practice, it's amazing what happens on the day. And individuals who don't, and thankfully they are rare, often will struggle even on the shorter swims. And again, we have to pick them up and put them forward, which is no problem. But it just means that they can get, if they put the work in, it's amazing how much more enjoyable the event becomes.
Yeah, and I think this is because it's not a competition, so you
No,
are
no,
basically
not at all.
you're competing against yourself, and there's always, as you say, if you feel like you want to get out the water, you can get out the water. It just it is kind of like so well set up. There's no kind of shame in all of that at all. I veiled the boat occasionally in previous years, but not this year, I should add. But it's always nice to know that's because for me, the top priority is that I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the swimming. I'm not getting frustrated with myself or the conditions or whatever it is. So, I sort of try and be very relaxed about all of these things. So, but no, I mean, it's sort of so well set up. And we should also add that you can swim it without a wetsuit. So you do offer the skins
Yes.
as well. So, I guess most people are in wetsuits, but there's the hardy folk who are not in wetsuits. Um, and I guess what's the water temperature generally? It's like 15 or 16, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's varied over the years, but it's normally around that 14 mark is you're not. I mean, it has been a little bit warmer over the last couple of years, sort of venturing up towards sort of 15.5, 16. But we generally brief on between sort of 14 and 16.
And so I guess it wouldn't be advisable if you haven't done skins to turn up and just say, right, I'm doing
No,
skins.
I mean, we say to people, it's always best to acclimatise. And as you say, there's probably on every swim, we probably get about 10% that are non-wetsuit, and they are generally non-wetsuit swimmers. So they're acclimatized, they're used to swimming, often in colder conditions. A particular contingent from Ireland tend to come across and they think it's like bath water. They're used to swimming in sort of 11 to 12 degrees. But we would always advise people to, if they're going to do non-wetsuit, is to make sure they're acclimatized. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Fantastic. And you know, I think we should touch on the community as well. So I am always struck by how everybody just cheers everybody else on. Um, and John, you know, when it comes to the end of the event, there's little prize giving, but the prizes are not for who's done the fastest time. It's who's had the smiliest face, and you know. So I think, I mean, could you just sort of talk about that ethos a bit?
Yes, of course. I think you're absolutely right, Dave. The idea of saying we have, you know, the friendliest swimmer award, and that's always fun. And that's again chosen by pod leaders. It's chosen by kayakers, and we get nominations through the events, whether it's the 1 or 2 day. And so the idea is we can then we pool various candidates that come forward. It doesn't mean that, you know, all 150 swimmers have a rictus grin on their face in the hopeful expectation they'll get the prize. You know? So what was that like?
Well,
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
yeah. I was desperately trying this year.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And it's amazing, you know. It's terrible weather. Oh, it was wonderful. It was, you know.
yeah.
But I think that in a way, it's a very important aspect of the whole event, and it's to make that sort of tag of being friendly, and that's not a bad quality in for anyone at all in life. And so the idea of having an event that is essentially friendly, caring, and we do whatever, pardon me, whatever it takes to get you across. That works really well, and the awards reflect that. And so individuals who make the effort, and we see that as well. And we also have gold caps as well. So individuals who, again, in a way, it's triumph over adversity. They might be struggling, they might be having difficulties, but again, kayakers and even you know, boat crew and you name it, they'll come back and say such and such swimmers really put their back into it, made the effort. It's been difficult, but they've never complained. And you think, well, that's great. And that's a wonderful quality. So in a way, if we can reflect that by saying, here's a gold cap for you to wear, and one hopes brag about for a long time afterwards, you know.
Well,
Exactly.
I still wear mine with pride. I actually,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wore it in the lake that Katya swims in, and I got told off because it looked like my bald head, apparently.
I love that. Oh yeah, Queensford Lake. I got you. So, but all of that, all the idea, it's described to say that we will do I mean, make as much effort as possible, and in a way, all I would ask, Dewi, you can explain what happened to the late swimmers that had the cancelled Scilly. What was arranged for them to get them
Yeah,
to?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a couple of instances over the years where out of our control, where the flights haven't come in or Scilly was cancelled and people have arrived late. I mean, I can think of an incident a few years back when a group of 5 swimmers were stuck at Land's End Airport and couldn't make it on time. So we said to them, put your wetsuit on at Land's End, get on the flight, and when you land, we'll have a taxi that takes you to the harbour. We'll have a boat there, and then you'll be briefed on the way to the swim, and you'll be dropped in halfway into the swim. So that's exactly what happened. And we did a similar thing this year. The Scilly was late. We had a group of swimmers arrive late. They thought they might get just a tiny bit of the swim, but we managed to do exactly the same. Take them off the Scilly, put them on a boat, get them out to swim, a quick brief on the beach, and then they join the swim up in up near Cromwell's Castle, up in the Tresco Channel. So, yeah, we do whatever we can to get people swimming.
Fantastic. And you mentioned the word brief, by the way, which is so I think it's really important to say that all the swims are very well briefed as well. So you're not literally going, oh, I've got to jump. You know where you're going and what the deal is, don't you?
I mean,
no, it's a very important point to get that across. You're right that Dewi, we spent a lot of time on the safety, and to know what you expect of us as organisers and what we expect of swimmers. That's a very important point.
Fantastic. And then so next year, just turning to next year, you've you've got a charity partner as well. So I think there may be a
Yes,
few
we have.
sponsors.
We've got Level Water, and they very kindly come on board. They've had been involved in various other events, but this is really good. And we are looking forward to working with the team there. So, and what we've got, just for anyone who's interested, if you go onto the Scilly Swim Challenge website, you'll see that places are available for charity places for Level Water at the moment. And you'll get a discounted place, and they'll ask you to raise some funds for Level Water as a consequence. And then at 10 a.m. on the 30th of October, then we have the open ballot for both the 1 and 2 day events for next year. So we've got 17, 18 September 2026 for the 2 day, and the 1 day we've got the 20th of September. So it's a good opportunity. But yeah, the 30th of October, 10 a.m. be there, and one hopes you'll get a place.
Well, fantastic. Well, listen, it's really good to kind of have the conversation, understand a bit more about the background of the swim, and, for those who may not have heard about it. I mean, it is just a brilliant thing to do. It's good for the soul, I think, to be in sort of such a special place, to be surrounded by such special people, and the sea is just pristine, and the swimming is just wonderful, to be honest with you. So
I think I'm delighted you feel that, Dave, certainly from a swimmer's perspective over the years of doing the event. And it's an important point that, but it's when individuals say this is not for the likes of us, or I am not sure I can do it. We spend a lot of time saying, actually, if you put your mind to it, you're more than welcome to talk to us. But as Dewi said, bar actually carrying you across will get you in. We'll do whatever it takes. And then and we do this for our tours as well. We have loads of people always concerned. We say, no, it's absolutely fine. You're very welcome, and we'll help you in any way we can.
well, listen, I think I, I I'd actually love to do some other Swim Quest events, because I I need to congratulate you, because I was there when it was announced. You announced that you were kind of taking over the Scilly Swim, and I have to say my sort of heart sunk, because I was like, oh, some more corporates coming in to kind of change things, but nothing changed. In fact, I think it's got better. But there's no sense that there's sort of anything is missing from a kind of community cultural point of view. So
Well, I'm delighted you feel that, Dave. That's really good, and we made that's Alison, myself. That's our aim. It's just you say, to keep the essence of the event, and it's a challenge. And again, everyone is welcome.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I look forward to seeing you on the beach as I launch off with my green hat next year, because I'm hoping I'm going to be told I need to be a red hat next year, and I'll be, no, I'm sticking with Imi. So
all right.
It's an absolute delight talking to you, and our enthusiasm just doesn't waver because we enjoy it as much as you do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going back for the 14th, 15th year, whatever it be now.
No, I can imagine. I mean, just the scale of the organisation. I think the fact that you're kind of keeping ongoing just is testament.
Well, we enjoy it as well, Dave. We all enjoy it, weirdly enough. We're all a little bit perverse, but we enjoy it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me.
Absolute pleasure.